My name is Elizabeth R. Grulon, and I am 34 years old. The glass of my 18-year-old Macallan looked obscene in my husband's hand, not because he was drinking it, but because of the way he held it, like a prop, like a weapon, leaning against the granite kitchen island we had chosen together, when we still believed a house could become a promise if you spent enough money making it beautiful. Adrian lifted the glass again, his hip cocked against the counter in a posture of pure challenge. For 7 years, I had known every micro-expression on his face. The crease between his eyebrows when he lost his keys, the sleepy softness when he reached for me in the morning, the boyish smile when he wanted me to forgive some small selfishness. But this face was new. Cold, bright with contempt, almost giddy. He was waiting for me to explode. My heart did not hammer. It did not shatter theatrically. It sank, like a stone dropped into a frozen lake, leaving a hole so deep and silent that even grief seemed too far away to reach. "I see," I said, my voice so even it sounded like it belonged to someone else. "You see?" he mocked, taking a sip of my scotch. "That's all you have to say? I just told you I slept with another woman." Mara from his spin class. Mara, the name I had heard in passing for months. "The class is grabbing drinks after. Mara says this new place has amazing protein cocktails. You wouldn't like them. They're too spontaneous for you." I had been an idiot, but not for the reason he thought. I thought of the last 6 months, the late nights I pulled at the firm, not out of ambition, but because of the house fund spreadsheet pinned to our fridge. His dream house, a porch, a wide yard, a kitchen with a double oven. Every extra hour I worked was another brick in that future. I would come home tired, head full of contract clauses, and find him already in bed, turned away, phone glowing against his cheek. "Long day," I would whisper, and he would sigh. "You're always tired now." Then came the new language, phrases that sounded borrowed from podcasts and half-read self-help books. "You don't speak my love language anymore, Elizabeth." "I need a partner who feeds my energy, not drains it." "You maintain me like a task, instead of loving me like a man." Each sentence turned my effort into evidence against me. The first real crack came 2 weeks earlier, when I found a receipt in his jeans while doing laundry. $300 at the Laurel, a downtown hotel bar. When I asked gently if he had gone there for a work thing, he spun around with wounded outrage. "Are you checking up on me now? Can I have a drink with friends without being interrogated? This is exactly why I feel suffocated." I backed down, apologized even. Suffocated had become the word he used whenever the truth got too close. Tonight, my regional audit trip to Cincinnati had been canceled last minute because of a client emergency. I drove home thinking I might surprise him, order the sushi he liked, open wine, and talk. Really talk. The house was dark. His car was in the driveway. An odd stillness sat in the air. I called his name. Nothing. Then I saw the matchbook from the Laurel on the entryway table, placed neatly on top of his discarded wallet. Not hidden. Placed. Almost arrogant. So I waited. He came in at 2:07 a.m., smelling like night air and another woman's perfume. He flipped on the light, saw me in the armchair, and jumped. "Jesus, Elizabeth, what are you doing sitting in the dark?" "Trip was canceled," I said. "Where were you?" Fear flickered, then anger replaced it. "Out with friends. Do I need to report my movements to you now?" "You were at the Laurel." His eyes darted to the matchbook. Then his face hardened into something ugly and triumphant. He walked into the kitchen, poured my best scotch, and turned to face me. "What do you want me to say? That I needed to be somewhere I wasn't being micromanaged? Somewhere people actually know how to have fun?" The redirect began. My fault for working too much. My fault for being safe and predictable. My fault for making him feel like a houseplant watered out of obligation. I let him talk. Finally, I asked, "Adrian, are you seeing someone else?" He slammed the glass down. "You want the truth? Mara is everything you're not. She sees me. She wants me. You just manage me." "Are you saying you're having an affair?" That was when he snorted. The final overplay. "I slept with her," he said, eyes locked on mine. "What are you going to do about it?" The silence stretched. He leaned forward, waiting for tears, screams, begging. Instead, relief moved through me so suddenly, I almost laughed. The prison door had not just opened. He had ripped it off the hinges himself. "Thank you," I said softly. His smile died. The silence after my "thank you" was thicker than the scotch in Adrian's glass. He blinked, irritation crawling across his face, because I had not followed the script. I had not screamed. I had not thrown something. I had not given him the dramatic scene he could later retell as proof that I was unstable, controlling, impossible to love. His confession had landed, but I had not shattered the way he expected, and for the first time that night, he looked uncertain. "Thank you?" he repeated, voice sharp. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" "It means you made everything clear," I said. "No more ambiguity, no more working on it, no more doubts." I turned and walked out of the kitchen, not fast, not angrily, just with the deliberate pace of someone closing one room before opening another. Behind me, his glass hit the counter. "Where are you going? Elizabeth, we're not done!" I did not answer. I walked down the hall to my office, the small second bedroom where I had spent countless late nights working, planning, and lately preparing. The black lawyer's folder was in the top drawer of my desk, exactly where I had left it 3 weeks earlier after my second meeting with Diane Everson, a divorce attorney known for being calm, surgical, and almost frighteningly efficient. I had gone to Diane because something in me already knew. The receipt, the hotel bar, the phone glow, the contempt wrapped in therapy language. I had hoped I was wrong. I had prepared in case I was right. When I returned to the kitchen, Adrian was standing straighter, arms crossed, trying to rebuild his arrogance. "What is that?" he asked, eyes locked on the folder. I placed it on the granite island between us. The sound was soft, but final. He sneered. "A letter about your feelings?" "Divorce papers." The word changed the air. His face tightened, then loosened, like his body could not decide whether to laugh or panic. I opened the folder. On top were the summons and complaint, his name and mine printed in stark official font. "I had Diane draw them up 3 weeks ago," I said. "I only needed uncontestable grounds." His breath caught. 3 weeks? You were planning this? "I was protecting myself. You provided the reason." I took my phone from my pocket, opened the voice memo app, and tapped the file I had started recording the moment he walked into the kitchen with that look on his face. His own voice filled the room, smaller through the speaker, but unmistakable. "I slept with her. What are you going to do about it?" I watched the color drain from his face. It was not poetic. It was physical. The flush of anger disappeared, leaving him pale and slack, one hand gripping the counter as if the kitchen had tilted beneath him. "You recorded me?" he whispered. Then panic turned to fury. "You set me up. That's illegal. You can't do that." "One-party consent state," I said, placing the phone beside the papers. "As long as one participant consents to the recording, it is admissible." I consented. His mouth opened, then closed. He had expected a fight. I had brought documentation. I tapped the papers. "My signature is already notarized. The terms follow the prenuptial agreement we both signed. You keep the car you drive. We divide the joint savings equitably, not equally, given the circumstances. I keep my retirement accounts, you keep yours. No alimony. Clean and simple. The prenup? His voice cracked. You said that was just a formality. It was insurance, I said. This is the payout. I slid Diane's ivory business card across the island. All communication goes through my attorney from this point forward. You have 30 days to retain counsel and respond. Do not miss the deadline. His eyes darted around the room, searching for weakness, for hurt, for the part of me he could still manipulate. You can't just do this. Where are you going? This is your house too. The deed is mine. The prenup is clear. I will be at the Marriott Grand for the week. As for tonight, you should call Mara. The locksmith will be here at 9 tomorrow morning. That detail broke him more than the papers, not because of the lock, but because of what it proved. While he had been performing freedom, I had already built mine. Elizabeth, wait, he said, and now the word husband had finally returned to his face, even if he did not say it. This is insane. We can talk. You did talk, I said. I believed you. By the front door, my black duffel bag waited with clothes, documents, passport, financial records, the original prenup, and the small lockbox that held everything I could not risk leaving behind. I lifted it onto my shoulder. Adrian followed me, voice breaking. It was a mistake. I turned back one last time. No, it was a choice. Tonight, you proudly told me what it was. I am simply making mine. Then I opened the door, stepped into the cold night air, and pulled it shut behind me. The silence in the Marriott room was not empty. It was clean. It felt like someone had opened every window inside my head and let 7 years of stale air rush out at once. No criticism disguised as concern. No sighs of disappointment when I asked normal questions. No careful measuring of my tone before I spoke. Just white sheets, a city view, the low hum of climate control, and a locked hotel door between me and the man who had expected his betrayal to become my breakdown. I slept deeply for the first time in months. No dreams. No startled waking at 3 in the morning, wondering why Adrian was turned away from me, phone tucked under his pillow, screen lighting his jaw blue in the dark. The next morning, I followed the plan. I emailed my boss, Martin, and wrote, "Dealing with an urgent personal matter. I'll be remote for the rest of the week. All projects are on track." His reply came in 7 minutes. "Take the time you need. HR has resources if you need them. No questions asked." Professional dignity, clean boundaries, a language I understood. I did not block Adrian immediately. I observed. For one day, my phone became a live feed of him discovering that consequences were not metaphors. At 8:03 a.m., just as the locksmith would have arrived, came denial. "Elizabeth, this is a gross overreaction. We need to talk like adults. You can't lock me out of my own home." At 9:47, legal bluster. "My lawyer says that recording is illegal harassment. Rescind the filing or we will countersue for emotional distress." By noon, reality had begun to leak through. Mara's place is tiny. She has roommates. I can't stay here. Where are my things? At 3:15, panic sharpened. "Elizabeth, please, the house is so quiet." Then, at 1:22 a.m., the first true plea arrived. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was the biggest mistake of my life. I'll end it with her today. Just come home." Each message hit the wall I had not realized I had built. I felt nothing except distant, analytical pity, not for him, but for the performance. This was the script he should have chosen before the confession. Remorse instead of triumph. Regret instead of contempt. But he had said what he said. He had shown me the truth with both hands. After that final message, I blocked his number. Then I tightened the rest of the perimeter. I deleted my social media apps. I created an email filter that sent anything from Adrian or known addresses connected to him into a folder labeled Legal, which Diane would review with me if necessary. I moved into a furnished month-to-month apartment across town by the end of the week. It was bland, beige, and entirely mine. The first night there, I sat on the balcony with takeout noodles and breathed air that had no history. Updates came through 3 channels. The first was Chloe, a mutual friend who texted a week after I left. I don't want to be in the middle, but Adrian is telling people you had a paranoid breakdown and trapped him with a recording. People are listening. I typed a long, defensive reply, then deleted it. Instead, I wrote, "Thanks for telling me. I have a lawful recording of his detailed confession and signed legal documents. I won't be debating facts, publicly or privately." The typing bubbles appeared, vanished, then returned. "Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Take care." She never relayed another message. The second channel was the digital graveyard. Curiosity got me once. I checked Adrian's public profile from a burner account. His feed had become a museum of collapse, pretending to be growth. A gym selfie captioned, "Choosing myself." A quote graphic about being misunderstood. A blurry glass of whiskey with "Learning who's really loyal." The likes dwindled with each post. People close enough to know better had gone quiet. I closed the app and deleted it again. The third channel was Diane Everson's clinical summaries. Those were the ones that mattered. Service successfully completed. Respondent acknowledged receipt at temporary residence. Present at address, Mara Linton. Then, respondent has retained counsel, Andrew Finch. Motion filed regarding alleged fraudulent inducement of prenuptial agreement and alleged illegal evidence. Our position is strong. Then 2 weeks later, after review of recording, prenup, travel records, and credit card timeline, opposing counsel has withdrawn motion, requesting mediation. I read between the sterile lines. Adrian's lawyer had heard him say it, had seen the timestamps, had recognized a losing hand. The final update before mediation was almost poetic. Opposing counsel informally notes respondent is experiencing significant personal upheaval. Third party, Mara Linton, is no longer residing at the listed address and is not responding to respondent's communications. No pause granted. We proceed. Mara had vanished the moment Adrian came with luggage, divorce papers, legal exposure, and emotional need. The exciting woman who saw him had apparently not wanted the maintenance package. I did not feel vindicated. I felt peaceful. His chaos was no longer my weather. His consequences were not my home. And for the first time in 7 years, when night fell, the quiet belonged entirely to me. The silence from my end became absolute, and Adrian hated it. People like him can survive anger because anger still means access. They can twist it, feed on it, call it proof that you are unstable or still invested. Silence gives them nothing. So he began throwing everything he could at the wall, trying to create a crack. New numbers appeared first. "Elizabeth, this has gone too far. We need to talk." Blocked. "It was a horrible mistake. We took vows." Blocked. "You're my wife. You can't just erase me." Blocked. Each one sounded less like remorse and more like a man shaking a locked door because he had misplaced the key. Then came his mother, Helen, through my personal email. The subject line was, "Please, Elizabeth." The message was polished in that maternal way that pretends to be kind while reaching for your throat. "Sweetheart, Adrian is spiraling. He made a terrible error in judgment, but marriage is about forgiveness. This legal war is destroying him. Please be the bigger person." The bigger person. I had learned by then that phrase usually meant, absorb the damage quietly so everyone else can remain comfortable. I deleted it without replying. A few days later, Mara herself sent a message through LinkedIn, which was almost impressive in its shamelessness. Elizabeth, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but Adrian is not doing well. He says you froze the money and won't speak to him. I never meant to destroy anything. Can you please call him so we can all move on? We. That one word told me she was already tired of the prize she had helped steal. I left the request pending. Not accepted, not denied. Just floating there. Irrelevant. Adrian's next email to Diane's filtered address was pure panic wearing anger. You win. You humiliated me legally, financially, socially. Are you happy? I'm losing everything. My home, my friends, my dignity. Can we please talk like adults and fix this, or are you really that cruel? I forwarded it to Diane with 2 words. As expected. Her reply came 10 minutes later. Mediation remains scheduled. His tone will change when leverage fails. 2 months to the day after I walked out, he found me. By then, I had moved into a permanent condo, a quiet high-rise with a concierge, key fob elevators, and hallways that smelled faintly of cedar and expensive cleaning products. I had chosen it for the silence and security. That Saturday, I came back from a long ride along the river trail, helmet in one hand, leather jacket creased at the elbows, my body tired in the clean way movement makes you tired. I stepped into the lobby and a figure unfolded from one of the lounge chairs. Elizabeth. Adrian looked smaller. Not physically exactly, but reduced. His hair was uncombed. His shirt was wrinkled. The bright defiance from the kitchen was gone, replaced by a hollow exhaustion that made him look older than 7 years of marriage ever had. I stopped 5 feet away. What do you want? 5 minutes, he said. Please. You won't answer calls, emails, anything. I just need 5 minutes. My attorney's information has not changed. His face tightened. Damn it, I'm not a client. I'm your husband. The concierge glanced up from the desk. I kept my voice calm. You stopped being my husband when you decided to become Mara's affair partner. The paperwork is just catching up. His eyes filled. Real tears this time, or close enough not to matter. I was lost. I was stupid. She flattered me. It was fantasy. It meant nothing. You're my reality, Elizabeth. You're my wife. I love you. For 1 second, the old instinct flickered. Comfort him. Fix it. Make the pain smaller, because his pain had always taken up more space than mine. I let the impulse rise and die. You confessed because you wanted to hurt me, I said. Not because you were sorry. You wanted to prove you had power. You wanted to see me break. No, he whispered. That's not true. It is. And when I didn't break, you panicked. Now Mara is gone, the fantasy collapsed, and you are here because you have nowhere else to go. He flinched, confirming it before his mouth could deny it. So that's it, he said, bitterness rushing in to cover the wound. After 7 years, you're just going to let me drown? I loved the man I thought you were, I said. When you showed me who you actually were, I believed you. I already mourned that marriage. The divorce is just the administrative echo of something that died before I left the house. He stared at me, speechless. I don't hate you, Adrian, I said. I just don't think about you. Sign the settlement. Start your life over honestly. The elevator chimed behind me. Goodbye, I said. Then I stepped inside and let the doors close between us. Later that week, Diane emailed me while I was sitting at a small sunlit cafe downtown. The kind with narrow wooden tables and too many plants hanging in the windows. The subject line was short enough to make my chest pause before I opened it. Settlement executed. I read the message once, then again. Respondent has signed the settlement agreement. All terms accepted. Judgment will be entered next Friday. It's done. No drama. No thunder, no music swelling in the background. Just 4 clean sentences from a woman who had turned the worst night of my marriage into a file, processed it correctly, and closed it. I stared at those words for longer than I expected. It's done. 7 years of marriage, 6 months of suspicion, 1 confession delivered like a dare, and now the end arrived through email, while sunlight warmed my coffee cup. I thought I might feel victorious. I thought maybe the finality would bring some sharp rush of satisfaction, some cinematic sense that justice had landed exactly where it belonged. Instead, I felt an invisible chain slip loose and fall somewhere behind me without making a sound. Across from me, Elias paused mid-sentence. I had met him 3 weeks earlier at a bookstore, both of us reaching for the same photography monograph on opposite sides of a display table. He was a landscape photographer, quiet but not timid, with hands that moved when he talked about light. This was not some grand romance yet. It was coffee. It was conversation. It was a man asking questions and actually listening to the answers, without turning my words into evidence against me. "Everything okay?" he asked. I looked at the phone, then placed it face down on the table. For the first time, I did not feel the need to explain every detail. I did not need to tell him about the granite island, the Macallan, Adrian's pale face, Mara's vanishing act, or the lobby where my ex-husband finally understood I was gone. Those things existed, but they no longer owned the room. "Everything is perfect," I said, and I meant it. The judgment entered the next Friday. Diane sent the final documents, and I saved them in a folder labeled "Closed." Not Adrian. Not divorce. Closed. That word mattered. Adrian tried one final email through his lawyer, asking if I would consider a healing conversation after the legal dust settled. Diane forwarded it with no commentary. I replied with one sentence: "No further personal contact is necessary." That was the last message attached to him that I ever sent. I heard, through the thinning edges of mutual circles, that Mara never came back. Adrian moved into a smaller apartment outside the neighborhood he used to mock. His public reinvention phase faded when people stopped reacting to it. There were no dramatic consequences beyond the ordinary ones, which are sometimes worse. He had to live with himself without an audience, without a mistress to make him feel chosen, without a wife to absorb his disappointment and call it partnership. As for the house, I kept it for a while, then sold it quietly in spring. I did not want the double oven anymore. I did not want the porch we had planned, or the yard he had imagined as proof that I had built his dream correctly. I used part of the money to buy a smaller place with tall windows, clean walls, and enough quiet to hear myself think. I kept the motorcycle. I kept the habits that made me feel alive. I kept the version of myself that had walked out carrying a duffel bag and refused to turn around. People like to ask whether I regret recording him. I do not. I did not create his confession. I did not force the cruelty into his mouth. I simply preserved the truth when he was arrogant enough to say it clearly. That recording did not destroy our marriage. It only stopped him from rewriting the moment he destroyed it himself. The strangest victory was not that Adrian lost me. It was that he became irrelevant. Not an enemy, not a wound, not a ghost standing in every room I entered. Just a completed fact. A resolved item on a ledger I no longer review. Sometimes peace does not arrive like joy. Sometimes it arrives as silence, a clean apartment, a blocked number, a lawyer's email, a cup of coffee with someone who looks at you like you are present, not useful. Sometimes freedom is not loud at all. It is a door closing softly behind you, and your own footsteps continuing forward without hesitation. Adrian asked me what I was going to do about it. I did exactly what he never believed I was capable of doing. I believed him, left him, and built a life where his choices could no longer reach me.